Light symbolizes knowledge and divinity. It not only fades away darkness, but also illuminates our souls. So may I request our chief guest and other dignitaries to kindle the auspicious lamp to embark on today's proceedings. Let me introduce you to the distinguished guests. Our chief guest, Dr. Satbir Bedi, IAS, Chairperson, Punjab School Education Board, Dr. Nilima Jarat, Director General, Science City, Dr. Rajesh Grover, Director, Science City, and our keynote speakers, Dr. Livleen Kaur Kahlon and Mr. PC Tiwari. I also take this opportunity to welcome our guest of honor. Okay. I also take this opportunity to welcome our keynote speakers who have joined us online from Germany and South Africa, Mr. Martin Jarad and Ms. Silla Edmonds. A very warm welcome to all the dignitaries, guests, and delegates. May I request all the dignitaries to occupy their seats. Thank you, everyone. Good morning to all dignitaries, guests, and delegates with great joy and immense exultation. With great pleasure, I wish to inform that we have with us principals and teachers from government and private schools from across Punjab. I welcome you all. On this momentous occasion, it is our proud privilege and fortune to welcome our chief guest, Dr. Satbir Bedi, on the International Seminar on Education for Sustainable Development, Building Knowledge, Skills, Attitude. Madam, we are honored by your gracious presence. Thanks for being with us today. I also take this opportunity to accord a warm and cordial welcome to all the delegates and distinguished guests who have come from far and wide, and those who have joined us online to attend this seminar. We all are indeed delighted and honored by your presence on this significant day. I consider it a great honor to welcome Director General, Science City, Dr. Nilima Jarat, on the stage for setting the stage. Dr. Jarat is Director General, Science City. Before joining Science City, she was Executive Director, Punjab State Council for Science and Technology, and is Founder Member Secretary of Punjab Biodiversity Board. Trained on EST at Smithsonian University, USA, and Uppsala University, Sweden, she has consulted on environmental projects of the World Bank, UNESCO, UNDP, etc. in Punjab, and is a recipient of Punjab State Award. Please, ma'am. Yeah, thank you.
A very good morning, everybody, especially our Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Bedi. I also welcome Dr. Rupanjali Karthik. She is joining online today with us. She was not well, so I am especially thankful to her for taking time out in spite of her ill health to be with us today. Thank you, ma'am. I also welcome our international guests Mr. Martin Jarrett, and Ms. Silla Edmonds, and our national guests, Dr. Livleen and Mr. Tiwari. Principals and teachers from government schools as well as private schools, students many of who are joining online, because we had not invited students to the event here, but a number of teachers have joined online as well, along with their students. So a very warm welcome to all of you, also to officers and staff of the council and of other departments. Ma'am, it is indeed a great privilege and an honor for Pushpa Gujral Science City to have you with us today. And for us, it is a great moment that we are celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, which for my international guests, I will translate for you. This is primarily celebrating 75 years of India's independence and trying to bring forth all the development which has taken place in India so that India is poised to become the second largest economy by 2070. That is a report which came out just yesterday. So I think it is a moment of pride for all of us. We are happy to organize this international seminar on a topic which is extremely close to my heart. Can I have the, yes. So if you look at the, can we put off the lights, please, a little bit? Yeah, that should be okay. That should be okay. Is it clear to everybody? If you look at this picture here, this is the first picture taken from the moon where the earth is rising against the horizon of the moon. And that is why it is called as Earthrise. We all have seen moonrise, but there were a few privileged astronauts who could land on the moon. And today, yesterday, our Chandrayaan has also been launched for this purpose. So, but this is the picture when people started realizing that, yes, there is only one Earth. And that Earth looks like other planets, but then that Earth is special. It is special because it has got life. Other planets do not have it. I hope this works for me. Yeah. This is another picture of the same Earth, and this is the first colored picture of Earth. Before this, people were talking about the Earth. People knew that the Earth is round. People knew that the Earth has a lot of resources in it. But this picture brought into focus that this this Earth is actually an incredible complex web of interacting and interconnected. And it is our responsibility to protect it, because this is the only place where life is possible. Now, since I've been asked to set the stage for today's seminar, in 1972 and before that in 1964, a lot of things were happening in this area. In 1964, Rachel Carson, she came up with a novel called Silent Spring. And in this novel, actually, she was not a scientist, but she had realized in her lifetime while she was writing that suddenly the number of birds which were chirping around her house had reduced. And she could trace the roots to the excessive use of pesticides in the fields and in the gardens for agriculture and horticulture. At that time only, there was another publication which came up, which said limits of growth. And this book, for the first time, brought into focus the possibility of economic and population growth with finite supply of resources. I mean, whether it was possible or not. It looked at that aspect. And all this, since a lot of discussion started on it, this gave birth to the environmental diplomacy, which has paved the way of concept of sustainable development at the UN Conference on Human Environment at Stockholm in 1972, in which India had played a very important role, because it was only the Indian Prime Minister. It was only the Indian Prime Minister who had attended this conference as head of the state. Can you change from there? Yeah, please. So the UN conference ultimately brought into focus that something needed to be done. And we needed to protect, we needed to develop in a manner so that we not only develop ourselves, but we do not use as many resources so that there is nothing left for the next generations. And that book was brought out by the World Commission on Environment and Development, and it was Our Common Future. If you can lay your hands on this book, it is available on Amazon. Please read it. It is an eye-opener. It helped us to appreciate the concept of development, the concept of the needs of the present generation, meeting the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of our future generations to meet their own needs. It brought up the approach towards development where there needed to be a balancing impact. It brought into focus sustainable development, and it informed people that sustainable development is something more than environmental conservation. In schools, in colleges, through the Supreme Court order of the Government of India, through other environmental policies, the issue of environment education has been brought out. But if you read this book, the concept of sustainable development started from here, which said that sustainable development was simply defined as better ways of doing things. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah. So once this publication came out in 1987, the United Nations came up with the Agenda 21, which was brought out in Earth Summit at the Rio conference. And from Rio to now, from Agenda 21 to Agenda 2030, we are now talking about Agenda 2030. So many years have passed, and from there, we are still trying to achieve sustainable development. And that is through the 17, we have got guidelines now, the 17 sustainable development goals. Each goal is interconnected with other goals. Each goal is impacted by other goals, and in turn, it impacts other goals. And each goal has a set of targets, and also each target has a set of indicators, all of which is measurable. Next, please. So the sustainable development goals bring into focus two things. Action by all is required. Individual action is important. The concept that I am just one person, what if I do something, it will not impact the world? It will. But if we want action by all, if we want to promote individual action, we need to focus on enhancing knowledge. We need to focus on developing skills of people, and we need to focus on building attitudes. And attitude building, they say, when the clay is pliable, that is the best time to target. So children can be used as a very important agent of change. We need to move on from a sage on a stage who gives sermons, the teacher keeps on giving instructions, to participatory learning. We need to move on to interactive learning. We need to move on to hands-on training. And in Science City, if you visit here, you would find there are a lot of opportunities for hands-on training, for interactive learning. We also run a program, ma'am, for higher education students, where they can use the premises of Science City as a field trip for the mandatory environment education course in undergraduate classes. Next, please. So these are the Sustainable Development Goals. Everything is, the information is available on Google, so you can just go and see. And if you look at each of the goals, you will realize that every goal is associated with every other goal. And if you see to it, goal number 4 is the goal with which we are interested here. It is on quality education. And this is an all-pervasive goal. Next, please. So I would also like to inform all of you that in order to target this, we at Science City have initiated a program called SDask, which means Sustainable Development, Attitude, Skills, and Knowledge. And this program was initiated about 1.5 years ago, in which a number of schools became members. Many schools have persisted, some dropped out as well, but the SDask program is a hybrid mode program. Some activities are done at your school, some activities are done at Science City, then we do expert talks, and experts are from all over the world. We do a lot of activities, competitions, we do film shows. When I say film show, it doesn't mean that we just show a film. It actually means that the filmmaker is usually with us to discuss why he made that environmental film and what motivated him to do it. Then we also do a lot of environmental games. If you see the last picture below, that is a biodiversity game which has been designed and which is here. Storytelling, celebration of days. So we do, overall the Science City does about 140 programs per year. But for SDask, every fortnight, we do 1 program. So 2 programs per month is mandate. Basically, we want students to get motivated and start practicing whatever the learnings they have from this program to their daily lives. So what are my expectations from the seminar, or in fact, I would say that I am resonating everybody's expectation from this seminar? Experience sharing, new ideas which can be generated, or ideas which we hear from other people and we find them worth emulating with or without tweaking. We can tweak them to our local requirements. Building partnerships within schools, with national agencies, with international agencies. And there are a number of, in fact, the 2 of our international speakers here have actually invited for international collaborations, joint programs in future. So I close here. I once again welcome all of you. I thank you for joining this seminar. And I would once again like to reiterate, even today, after 50 years, we still find we have got only one Earth. So let us take action to protect that Earth. Let us take action to be positive to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your kind words and setting up the stage for further proceedings. A warm word of welcome to our chief guest. Dr. Satbir Bedi is a retired IS officer with over 3 decades of experience in leadership positions in the central government and AGMAT cadre. She has wide-ranging international experience, having worked with UNDP, the World Bank, DFID, ILO, etc., and is current fellow of the University of Cambridge. She is known for championing the cause of digitization in Government of India. Ma'am, we are waiting to listen to your motivational words. The stage is all yours. Please. Before I request our chief guest to address the audience, Dr. Rupanjali Karthik is among us and she has joined us online. So I request her to address our participants. A very warm welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible. It can be just by a show of hands. I can see all of you.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible, ma'am.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. Firstly, I would like to say thank you to Dr. Jared for inviting me. I'm representing here the School Education Department. I'm the Special Secretary of School Education Department and looking after a couple of projects of the state. So I still remember when, like, a couple of weeks before, Dr. Jared came to my office and she was thinking that it would be a good step to collaborate with the two departments together. And she wanted some really, inspiring teachers to participate in the program. And so why I'm sharing this is because the role of teachers in the lives of students is so important that we cannot overemphasize. It is a given thing. And so all of you, 50 plus, 100 plus people sitting there, the teachers from different schools of Punjab, I would like to say that all of you are very special. And thank you for coming, because you have come here because of your your real motivation and also the importance that you play in inspiring the lives of students. So thank you so much for coming. And it's a great collaboration of the two departments where school education and environment need to speak from the same one forum. And I'm also so happy to know that Madam Satbir Bedi is amongst us. And so she had a very illustrious career and a person with huge wealth of experience and expertise in education sector. So I think as an audience, we all would love to hear from ma'am and learn from her experiences as we go forward. Talking about the topic that we have today on sustainable development in school education, I feel that as Madam Jared in the introductory lecture was communicating, it's 1987, there was a Brundtland Commission, which made a report that, sustainable development is so important. Now, why are we talking about it? Because now, for example, all of us can relate to it. Punjab had a series of incessant rains in the last week or so. Now, these kind of rains and events have really become so erratic that we are not able to, so when we say climate change, these are the realities which are not more in the international seminars only. It's not only that people are just talking about it. As normal people, day in, day out, we can feel it. If I see from my memory as a child growing in Chandigarh, in Punjab, I feel that the number of storms which are like every week or 10 days, there is a low pressure being created and there's a big storm, then it goes away. Then the rains come, which are like not expected at the time when we normally thought the monsoons would come. Then the rains come so heavily that we're not able to take care of the entire water and the roads, and people's houses get flooded. And this is so much a reality that we all witnessed in the last 3-4 days. So I think the most important point that we are talking here is how can we influence the new generation, the students who are constantly in touch with you? Because I think after parents, teachers are the only set of people who can really influence the students' lives for times to come. If I remember in my life, I will not remember in my heart a teacher who taught English very well or maths very well or science very well, like a formula or something. That is definitely important. But as a student, I really would have a great memory of a teacher who touched my life, who shared some experience, or a value in the classroom lectures, which was over and above the normal mathematics lecture or science lecture. And that is why I do not know what's the composition of the audience here, but my request to the DPI secondary school education was, it should not be that only science teachers should come for this international seminar, because I think it's enough that we have drawn a lot of boundaries already. Now we don't need to draw any boundaries. Any teacher of whichever subject, including physical education, English, Hindi, Punjabi, social science, Sanskrit, each one of us have that audience, that is the students live in our environment daily, day in, day out. So the power that you have to inspire them, regardless of the subject. Of course, you teach them the way you want to teach them. My only request is, if henceforth, whatever you pick up from today's lecture, because there are international speakers out there who are going to share what kind of activities or things are being done in other parts of the world. And if we can imbibe all of them, absorb them, and each one of you, when you go back to your schools, you share it with your fellow colleagues, you share it with the students, you try and, contextualize in Punjab situation. I can say, aap usko Punjabiyaize karwa do. वो जो international experience that you're going to gain today, usko aapke school mein, how can you implement it? So that ultimately we want the kids in your classroom to be international leaders. And that doesn't mean that they have to come on an international forum and perform. That only means that as international citizens, as global citizens, as environment sensitive citizens, the real edifice is laid in your schools, in your primary classes, in your secondary classes, in the middle school classes. So taking it a little forward, I just wanted to say that I won't take much of your time, but when Dr. Jareth was talking about three things here for the seminar, building knowledge, skills, and attitude, my request and somehow my personal bias is that attitude is so very important. We can build knowledge, it's important, and we must. Skills, definitely it's important. It's linked to the livelihood that we all will have in the future for the kids. But attitude is such an important thing, and perhaps such a almost ignored kind of a thing. I think if all of you sitting here can, take a vow or a pledge that henceforth in my class, I'll be more intentional about, telling the kids to be a little more sensitive to environment, to be thinking. I think we have become far too mechanical in our lives. Both students, adults, teachers, you, me, everyone. We live life so mechanically that we don't know how to address problems when it comes like this, the way it has come a couple of days before. But I think as teachers and as educators and as the departments or environmental people, all of us can definitely try that there is a sensitivity component which a child grows up with. So let's not make them more mechanical, try and indulge them in activities, in exercises, in thinking processes, so that the child, before making a choice in his or her life, is a thinking person. When a person thinks, he or she will think and then decide, not being mechanical and then decide, right? So I think, I do not know how elaborate I can go in this, but I'll just share a small example of my childhood when I grew up and I was like, stop using the plastic bags. I used to advocate it as a kid. So when I grew up in my university and college, I was so very fond of it that I used to carry vegetables. If I forgot the bag at home, I would say to the vegetable vendor, no, I'm not going to take a plastic bag from you. I'll carry the things in my hands to my scooty or whatever vehicle I had and put it there, do it a couple of times. And the memory which I have is that as a kid, when I used to do it, that impact was because of my science teacher. It was the impact because she, in a couple of her lectures, communicated that how plastic is bad for our environment. I do not know, it clicked me. As a student, as a child, it clicked me. And I tried to take it forward. It's something different that as I grew bigger, now I try and keep that bag, but many times I forget that. But I'm only trying to say maybe whatever time I spent for that, save the world, not using plastic ban, whatever X number of days, months, years, I as an individual was not using it, there was some positive impact of that, and it all came from one good teacher who in her class inspired all of us. I do not know how many of us picked it up from there, but this is an example which I have very fond memory of. And given a choice in life going forward, I would like to do something like that. So my only thing is that teachers, you are really very powerful people, जो आप कर सकते हैं वो हम बिल्कुल नहीं कर सकते. आपके पास, like मैडम ने बोला, the clay, the mold, बिल्कुल चिकनी मिट्टी comes to your classrooms. आपके पास इतना समय होता है. आप अपने maths के साथ साथ with your science, with your social studies, please be more intentional and purposeful कि क्या आप किसी तरीके से can you touch their lives and minds and ignite good thoughts about environment, about sustainability. Then the kids, tomorrow they become farmers, they become engineers, they become drivers, they become business people, no matter where they go. If they are reasonably thinking and environmentally sensitive citizens, they will take care of the planet Earth. And that is what all we want. So, isse zyada or I will not say, but thank you so much for coming. And I would request each one of you to avoid looking at your phones till the time the next 2-3 hours, so that, we have a lot of expertise in this room and on this platform. Let's learn from them, and whatever little we can go and do it in our lives to come, that will be like maybe a drop in the ocean, but we must contribute that. So thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your motivational words, and at the same time for motivating our participants and inspiring them. Thank you. Moving further, I request the chief guest of the day, Dr. Sadhbir Bedi, to please address the audience. Ma'am, please.
Morning, friends. Now, I believe we have to keep the address mostly in English because of the international participants. Largely, is everyone comfortable with us going on in English? Yeah. If in any case, I'm not going to say very profound things, simple things, and if any translation is required, I am willing to do it. It's because I believe we are here to communicate with each other, talk to each other, and not miss thoughts that we need to share. So thank you, Nilima ji, for inviting me here. Hi, Rupanjali. It was good listening to you. And Mrs. Edmonds, Mr. Jared, Ms. Callon, Variji, our friends here. People from my organization, PSEB, people who are from the education department. It's great. It's actually a very, very important and very, very special process of thinking that we are being invited to today. We have to think in a particular way. We have to orient our minds to this particular topic of the day. We are here to discuss the role of education in sustainable development. I would say also we could say we are here to nurture a resilient future. And while I talk of nurturing a resilient future, I would start my talk with a disclaimer, which says, you'll see in some of the TV shows when it says that the content may be disturbing, so viewer discretion is advised. And here I say listeners' discretion is advised, because there's some thoughts which may not be what we want to hear. But I start with an example which has hit me about 7-8 years ago, with a story which hit me a few years ago, and it has stayed with me ever since. I have a very good friend who teaches in the King's College, London, and she was going through a divorce. The reason was that she did not want to have children, and her husband wanted to have children. And I thought it was very silly, because one of the best things that I think I am proudest of in my life is being a mother. So I was trying to sell to her saying, if you don't have kids, you will just not know what life is all about. So this lady said, Sadhbir, you don't understand. I don't want to have children who will live on a planet which is so dangerous, which is becoming dangerous by the day. That hit me very hard. And I keep thinking about her words whenever anything like the floods of the Ganges happened. When did it happen? 2013, 14? When did that happen? That massive flood, which took down thousands of lives and thousands of houses. so much of what we called development of Uttarakhand, it went down in one angry moment of the river Ganges. So was it development? And if it was, why was it not sustainable? Right? Was my friend right when she said, I don't want my children to live in a dangerous world? These are the questions that worry me. Recent floods, they are inexplicable. They have disturbed lives, they have disturbed households. Have they interacted with development in a way that we as people are not understanding? Rupanjali just said about plastic bags. And I can vouch for the fact that why Delhi's ITO is clogged is because of those plastic bags that people decided not to discard, not to give up. And they are all stuck in the drains. So what is development and how do we make it sustainable? And what role education can play in this? So we'll just go into all these one by one. As such, it's common knowledge. We live on planet Earth, the beautiful pictures we saw, which provides for everything. It provides for fur on animals in cold areas. It provides us with all the food and vegetables that we want to eat. It provides us with rain. It provides us with all kinds of things that are natural and they are available. And they can be developed, they can be used, but where we are faltering is not knowing the boundaries. We increasingly think that the more that we can produce, the more we can hoard. The nature provides for everybody's needs, but not for the human being's greed. That's a very common saying. So when we have everything already, where are we making a mistake? And we continue to exploit resources without replenishing, without sharing, and therefore disturbing the harmony. Sometimes I see these movies. I'm very fond of scuba diving. I go down and I see the beautiful world underwater. But then I see movies of all that plastic that the oceans are gathering and how fish are getting entangled in that, how things are getting bad, and how this, sometimes I wonder where will this all take us? The whole education, the concept of education and sustainability and development is the concept of responsibility. And that responsibility, the sense of responsibility, as has been very well pointed out by the earlier two speakers, will come only through education. Because development without a sense of responsibility is going to lead to breakdown. And that breakdown is not going to be good for us. Maybe we will live our lives through, all of us sitting in this room will escape, but then there are our children and then there are their children. Do we want to live a totally, disturbed planet, disturbed system for them? How much can we do? I'm not sure, but at least we can think, and for which Nilima ji has provided this forum. And I would like to encourage all of us, including me, to think on that. We talk of knowledge, skill, and attitude. We also talk of responsibility and critical thinking. But competence and the ability to reappropriate knowledge to the changing circumstances is the more important part of knowledge. Just having knowledge and using it indiscriminately is actually dangerous. And we as human beings have two capacities which are unparalleled. We can cooperate and we can organize. Suppose, as this morning somebody was telling me, suppose all the dogs of Jalandhar decided to cooperate and have an agenda and chase us out, they would happily chase us out of this place. But we use our ability to cooperate and organize to sometimes very selfish ends. And that selfishness is the cause that we have these international seminars, we have these international thoughts, the books written, whereas the answer lies in simplicity. The answer lies in our schools, the answer lies in our teachers, the answer lies in choices of subjects. My son in class 7, I was very fond of firecrackers. My son decided, so on the Diwali when he was in class 7, picked up a whole box of crackers, went to the small water tank, open water tank, not the drinking water tank, in the house, in the garden, and dumped all the crackers there. I was very angry. Even at that time, it was worth thousands of rupees. And I was saying, what did you do? Why did you do this? He said, my teacher told me, no firecrackers. And I don't know how many other students dumped their firecrackers in the water, but my son did. I don't know whether his dumping those firecrackers in the water ever made any difference to the pollution in Delhi. But hamare ghar mein, in my house, not a single firecracker has been burnt thereafter. And that was the impact of one teacher telling him pre-Diwali that firecrackers are bad for environment, don't do it. That is what we have to say. Education has to include logical thinking and science. It also has to include feeling and art. I've just been told that I would like to visit the math lab because math lab shows how music and mathematics go together. I would say all of you, at least though everyone is teaching math some way or the other, in some form or the other, at some level or the other, to either themselves or their children or their grandchildren. I would suggest that center or that gallery is worth viewing. Any place where we say that there's another part of growth, there's another part of development, has to be appreciated. So we need to study math, physics, chemistry, but we also need to study geography, history, and music. And these are not words, these are serious thoughts. So finally, I would just like to end it by saying, not a very long thought process, because the problem is complex enough to have a simple solution. The simple solution is balance. In education, we have to think about balance so that our children can live in a good planet. We have to talk about scientific temper, logic, inventions, but also about sharing, understanding, and discoveries. We've forgotten about discoveries while we are talking about inventions. There are a lot of things still to be discovered. We were just, before coming here, we were discussing the advantages of traveling. And if people visit other places, they understand the value of things, the value of what they have, and value of how those things can be co-managed. They understand the value of cooperation. So balance in PSEB, I would suggest, Mrs. Dalam is right here, and she is in charge of all the curriculum that we prepare. I would look at our curriculum to be more balanced when we write science. there's a great pride in having good engineers, doctors, and mathematicians. There should be an equal amount of pride in them being able to understand music, poetry, and history. And how we do it, we'll need all your support, suggestions, helps, because we are in a position to make a difference. I feel in the school education board, we are able to in a position to make a difference. So let us make that difference for Punjab. There's a whole lot of what do you say, advocacy for liberal arts. And let us think of whether we can do it in Punjab for ourselves. The thing is that there should be no disconnect between life and education. When we look at Chandrayaan-3 going up and feel very proud and clap, we should be able to go to our backyard and look at the grass and see how remarkable and how important that is to our life as well. So thank you very much for giving me this time to say. I hope it's somewhat useful. I promise if I get good ideas, we'll try to implement them. And all the best for the rest of your seminar.
Thank you, madam. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom and gracing the stage with your thoughtful ideas. Now I request Mr. P.C. Tiwari to deliver his keynote talk. Mr. Tiwari is Assistant Commissioner, Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan, Regional Office, Chandigarh. Mr. Tiwari, please.
First of all, I extend my warm greetings, my namaste to all the people listening to me. I extend very special namaste to all the teachers sitting in front of me. My dear friends, you are the real torch bearer. You are the real makers of this society, the future of this society, the future of this nation. Therefore, I once again extend my namaste to each one of you. I extend my namaste to the people who are listening to me in an online mode. Today's topic is sustainable development, the education, the skills, and the attitude. I have to keep my viewpoint in brief. First of all, what I feel about the sustainable development. In my opinion, sustainable development is the peace policy for future. Sustainable development is the peace policy of future. With the prime principle of meeting the needs of the present without compromising the abilities of the future generation to meet their own needs, means it is a peace policy of future. By 2030, the agenda of the sustainable development provides a shared and clear blueprint for peace and prosperity of the people and of the planet for today and for days to come. At its heart, as already has been spoken, there are 17 SDGs. I am from Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan. What I have worked and the way we are working, I would like to quote the few points regarding that, how we are meeting the sustainable development goals in our day-to-day affair. We start our day in our schools with our prayer. one part of the prayer is Om Sahna Vavatu Sahno Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karva Vahe Tejasvina Vadhitamast Ma Vidusha Vahe Om Santi Santi Santi. It means, let us be protected together, let us be nourished together, let us join together our mental forces in strength for the benefit of humanity. Let our efforts at learning be luminous and filled with joy. Let us never be poisoned with seeds of hatredness for anyone. Let there be peace and serenity. Let there be peace and serenity. Let there be peace and serenity. We have our schools across the nation and in some other nations too, like Moscow, Tehran, Kathmandu. We have with us the students from different parts of the nation and different sections of the society. We are inclusive and we are pluralistic too. We work on the guideline, on the lines as written in the ancient Indian text, Rigved, Sangachadhvam, Samvadadhvam, Samvo Janas, Samvo Manasi Janatam, Deva Bhagam Yatha Purve Sanjananam Upasate. It means, let us move together, let us talk together, let us think together, let our minds understand each other's need and make efforts to fulfill, to help, so that the others can fulfill their own needs also. As I spoke in the beginning, I am speaking what we are doing. We take care of the things, small things. We take care of the small things, and we believe that when we take care of the small things, when we address the small things rightly, judiciously, the bigger things, the things of greater importance, settle on their own at the right place. Few examples I am trying to quote. Accomplishment of activities under lifestyle for environment in true letter and spirit. We believe that spending time with trees and birds and animals, or just being quiet around nature, can develop the basis of life. Here, life means lifestyle for environment. Ancient Indian text says, whether it is human body or any bigger cosmic body, it is made up of 5 elements. These 5 elements are Siti, Jal, Pavak, Gagan, Samir. It means the 5 elements are, these are known as the Panch Mahabhut. These Panch Mahabhut are the earth, the air, the sky, the water, and the fire. And we believe at this stage, at the childhood stage, children must have an experience, direct experience with water, air, and earth and sky, so that they can experience their deep connection with these elements. But sorry to say, if I ask in a school in front of 2,000 students, how many of you have seen in last month the rising sun? How many of us have seen the rising sun? How many of our students have seen the sun at the dusk? How will they experience the nature? Therefore, we organize gardening, tree plantation, nature walks, bird watching, etc. in our school plan. Another most important thing, we organize Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat program. It means one nation, the great nation. For us, the definition of our nation is Uttaram yat samudrasya himadrasya dakshinam varsam tad bharatam nam bharati yat santati. Means to the north of the mighty ocean, and to the south of the snowy Himalayas, the land that is Bharat, and the people residing here are the Bharatiya. Bharat means India and Bharati means Indian. What we do? We pair the states, like we are here in the Punjab. The Kendriya Vidyalayas of the Punjab region, Chandigarh region will be associated like the Kendriya Vidyalayas of the Ernakulam region, Kerala. Therefore, the children will understand the culture of the other region also. They will develop a sense of respect and acceptance for the other cultures too. In this way, they develop a sense of bigger acceptance. Recently, G20 summit, the motto is One Earth, One Family, One Future. Under Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat Abhiyan, we move ahead with our motto as has been taken from the Mahopanishad. Ayam nijaha paro veti ganana laguchetasam udara charita nantu vasudhaiva kutambakam. Vasudhaiva kutambakam means one earth, one family, one future. This is the Vasudhaiva Kutambakam that has been since time immemorial the Indian tradition. This is, and what does it mean? This is mine, not yours. This is yours, not mine. It is the concern of those who takes things in a narrow-minded spectrum. For those having a broader spectrum with noble-minded concern, the whole world is a family. We work with this in our schools. Like this, we take our students to different scientific laboratories. We encourage them to participate into the science programs like National Science Children Congress, Inspire Award Manak, Jigyasa programs, etc. The prime focus is to enable them to think critically and solve problems, to enable them to become multidisciplinary, and how to innovate, adapt, and absorb new material in novel and changing fields. And likely, we are evolving our pedagogy to make education more experiential. I quote just one example. We teach our children a plus b whole square equal to a square plus b square plus 2ab. When we ask him, you go to market, apply this mathematical concept in your daily life, then he is not in a position to apply that mathematical concern in their daily life. How we are evolving our pedagogy? We are making education, the classroom teaching, more experiential. The classroom teaching students must experience in their daily life. It must be holistic, integrated, inquiry-driven, discovery-oriented, learner-centered, discussion-based, flexible, and of course, enjoyable. Our prime concern, each child must feel cared and welcomed for inside the Vidyalaya. Our concern is the holistic development of the child. If our children will develop holistically, then many problems that we see or face in terms of the saving environment will automatically be overcome. We believe, as text in the Taittiriya Upanishad, the human body is made up of 5 sets. These are known as the 5 kosas: the Annamay kos, the Pranamay kos, the Manomay kos, the Vijnanamay kos, and the Anandamay kos. What is the meaning of these kosas? The Annamay kos means the physical layer, the organs and the senses. Second comes Pranamay kos. It means the life energy. Third, it comes Manomay kos, the emotions. Next, it comes the Vijnanamay kos, means wisdom. And above all, the Anandamay kos, the inner self. And in our opinion, the nurturing and nourishment of all these 5 Posas is the holistic development. We work on this kind of holistic development so that our children come up with the global citizenship mindset. And not taking much of your time, our motto have never been, I must be happy. Our motto have never been, I should not face any kind of suffering. No, our motto have always been, Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, not aham bhavami sukhinah. Our motto have always been, Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, Sarve santu niramaya, Sarve bhadrani paschyantu, ma kaschid dukh bhag bhavet, Om Shantihi, Shantihi, Shantihi. It means, may all be prosperous. May all be prosperous and happy. May all be free from all kinds of illness and suffering. May all see what is spiritually uplifting. May no one suffer. Om. Peace, peace, peace. That's all from my side. I once again join my hands in front of each one of you. Very especially to the teachers, because I am very grateful to teachers. Because of you only I am standing here. Because of you only this nation is standing where it is standing today. Thank you very much for giving me this time.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for sharing your valuable views with our audience and with us. And now I request Dr. Livleen Kaur Kahlon to deliver the talk. Dr. Kahlon is Associate Director and Head Environment Education and Awareness Division, TERI. She is an active member of the 4-country EST Expert Net since 2010. She is actively involved in projects on EST. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for such a nice introduction. There is a presentation that I want to run with all of you, and I will try to keep my talk very brief. There will be certain slides that we'll just skip, but the presentation will be placed at the center. Ma'am, you can later on pass it on to the teachers. So, is it working? So while the slide comes in, I represent TERI, which is the Energy and Resources Institute. Our headquarters are in New Delhi. We have regional offices in Guwahati, Goa, Bangalore, and Mukteshwar, along with Mumbai. So we are one of the leading think tanks working in the field of energy and environment. And we work on all issues related to sustainable development. So what we are going to see now is how going beyond classrooms and blackboards is important to raise high the flag of sustainability education. So when we speak of education for sustainable development, that happens just not inside the class, but it happens in communities, it happens in households, it happens in chance conversations, and all opportunities of peer-to-peer learning. So we are all well versed, we are all aware about the changes that are happening all around us. And these changes that are happening around us are related to natural resources, they are related to climate change, they are related to habitats, biodiversity everywhere. And what is the key principle that is going to help us move around this change? We have to look beyond growth, we have to look at development. Teachers from economics background, students studying commerce, they know the difference between growth and development. What happens when we do an accounting of numbers? We are mostly concerned about the quantitative leap. and that is the growth. But when we speak of development, we are also looking at the qualitative enrichment, the value chain that is added to our day-to-day living. And once we get this inside the psyche of a child, a student, believe me that always it will be enshrined inside his dealing with the world around him. What is education for sustainable development? Ma'am has very nicely explained when she showed the ESG principles, the rules, the 17 sustainable development rules, and how it has moved across generations. So we do have a very rich period where we saw a transition of environment education from conservation and nature education. Then it moved into a decade of environment education, and now we are looking at EST parallel to global competencies on education and development, which is GCED. These are complicated terms, but I would say the pride is in all our Indian families, because right from the childhood, a student, a child is taught the principles of sustainability, because India is definitely not a use and throw culture. We always find a use and rarely anything used to go waste when we look back in our households. So these ESG, the principles of sustainability, the 17 goals of partnership, they are all woven around the principles of sustainable living when it comes through environment, when it comes to economic, when it comes through the cultural and social pillars of living. So we can pick up any particular goal and we will see that there's a very, very intricate web of sustainability and circularity woven around those principles. A little bit going back to history, a little bit going into the principles of evolution. There's a very nice thing written at the gates of Pushpa Gujarat Science City, which says, you will meet dinosaurs here. So it is absolutely impossible for students to meet the dinosaurs. But what we need to create in the classrooms is a spirit of awe, a spirit of understanding of how dinosaurs existed in the prehistoric earth, and how they vanished, and where and how are we responsible for it. We could say we are not responsible because man was not there when dinosaurs was there. But a change was happening. Go back to the slide 1 when I say that we see the change all around us. Movements from anaerobic to aerobic mode of living, movements of different species speciating across different groups. You know, there is a very beautiful book called The Sixth Extinction. And the chapters of those books, they speak about the world around you and how we are witnessing the species being extinct. It moves from the Amazon jungles, it moves to America, it moves to Australia, and it has picked up one species per chapter, and it speaks about simple things like the frogs around you. How are frogs disappearing? What are the reasons behind frogs disappearing? And that is what I want to show in this slide. Very complicated, but what it says is Earth has seen 5 extinctions till date. And now, right now, in 2023, we are witnessing the 6th extinction happening. There are a lot of debates still happening which say this is not there. This is just, again, a skeptic outlook that there is no species endangerment happening and species are not going extinct. But this week itself, there was a scientific study brought about by the Anthropogenic Working Group AWG, who have studied the Crawfield River in Canada, and it has come up with scientific data which shows that the extinction has been happening for the last 70 years. So, you do remember, some of you do remember, I remember when I was in school, very less mention was there about this term called climate change. Everybody used to say climate is not changing. It's a cyclic process that's happening. But over these 45 years, now there is scientific data which has positioned itself in a way that we have woken up to this threat of climate change. Similarly, the Earth is undergoing the 6th extinction, and anthropogenic reasons are responsible for this 6th extinction to happen. A little on the lighter side, we don't have to create a lot of eco-anxiety in the classrooms. We can speak of circularity, circular economy, again, a very, very heavy subject that the students have to learn. Just close the books, talk to them on a day-to-day functioning. Circularity is there from the kindergarten lullabies. We all know that everything around us is round. We have accepted it. And why is it round? Because it is more stable. So this is a very cute nursery rhyme which we teach to our students. And similarly, when you speak about circular economy, you speak about circular principles, we say that all movements on the planet Earth and in our way of living are circular. Be it the geochemical cycles, be it how goods are created. So anywhere we see that the circularity pattern is missed, that is where the chain becomes, the circularity patterns become flat. And that is where waste is created. Every waste that is created, everything that we feel is of no use to us, is actually a resource to a new innovation and discovery. So these are certain examples. Biosphere, a lot of cycles are there which we teach: hydrogen cycle, water cycle, nitrogen cycle. They have circularity principles. Then in the technical sphere, again, we look at minimal waste. So there again, we have circular principles. Then geochemical cycles, as I said, is again a circularity mode of functioning. So it is very easy because, from one side, advocacy, policies and all, they keep throwing big principles, big names to classrooms, and our teachers have to cope up to popularize it to the level of a student's understanding. We just need to connect it to the local examples around us, and it is very, very easily understood. Can you do it? Okay. Now, I did speak about GCED. So, sir has very rightly said, like, my namaskar to the teaching community. So when we are evolving around these topics, what are the problems? What are the bottlenecks that our trainers, that our teachers face, which is very, very important to understand? Integration, we have accepted that environment studies has to be an integrated concept. Ma'am, right in her welcome address, mentioned that it has to be interdisciplinary. So environment education does not have to be burden of one teacher, but it has to be a heritage, a inheritance taken over by the entire teaching community, because when you are teaching your different subjects, you are best equipped to handle those topics. Then, we speak about, I'm not in a favor of it, but we do at times very sadly mention lack of motivation amongst teachers. So that is a very negative statement to be made. It is not at all ever a lack of motivation. It is always some actual constraints that the community faces. And this is where, the non-formal and informal methods of teaching, like this science study itself is promoting, will give you more energy, will give you more enthusiasm to cope up with these new topics. We spoke about the circularity discipline. After a couple of years, you will get a chapter on circularity discipline in the classroom. So that is where you'll have to connect the dots and go back into your understanding, your acknowledgement of those principles. Then, COVID has been a blessing in a way. A lot of teaching got transformed into online. When you are doing online teaching, there are excellent national and global resources available, mostly free of cost. Government of India has its SWAYAM modules. You can do your own MOOCs, you can have your own online training, and also you can be graded and you can upgrade your skills. So this type of ICT and blended learning is something which has been a blessing to all of us. And we as younger teachers should feel it our responsibility to handhold the senior teachers to get into this learning mode, because this is exactly what happened at our households, because this intergenerational connections is what is going to take our society forward. Otherwise, a lot of skepticism and a lot of extra baggage is going to be felt by teachers who are not able to cope up with this blended learning. Environment education at TERI, we do a lot of projects and activities. I will not speak about any of the project because I need to cut short on time, but you are welcome to be connected with us at any time you feel. I think some of you would have heard about Green Olympiad. That is a leading project. Thank you, ma'am, for the nod. So that is a leading project being done by TERI since the last 25 years. We do it across classes 4 to 12. The message is that we need to translate the textbook EVS material, join in the contemporary environment happenings, and make it a joy of learning for students through a quiz program, because that brings in a competition. Similarly, we do a quiz for colleges. Then I'll move forward. That is Geo for Youth. There is a program lead which is conducted in the summer vacations. Students can join in. It is again a blended learning. A couple of days they have to be in TERI office, and this is actually even a portfolio building requirement for students. This is another trend. Most of the students want to go abroad for their future studies and all, and I, on one hand, really promote it. We should never debar our students saying that you don't go out to learn. We should empower them enough that they go out to learn and they are able to come back. So this particular program helps them build up their portfolio, because they learn about a lot of topics which are of use to them if they need to pursue their studies later. Then we just recently concluded it. It is a certified program. We do ecotourism camps in Mukteshwar. That is again ESG across beyond the classrooms and blackboards. We have a field office in Uttarakhand. We take students and they are able to learn amidst natural environment. So any stage you want to be joined with us, please approach ma'am. She will be able to guide you better, and we can conduct these camps for students. Ocean matters, again, India has the third largest coastline, and we need to tell how plastics is a major menace in the ocean floor. So this is a project we are doing with USAID. Another initiative, we're going to just start with ACOM. This is 75 Reels of Celebration. This will be done across the country. Green School, again, another program. I should just run these slides. Actually, this doesn't even work. Okay. So again, combating plastic pollution. So why these need to be seen here is, Let me just skip all these projects. Yeah. Learnings are founded on 3 principles. One is the formal learning, which all of you are trained for. You incorporate through your subject. Second is non-formal, seminars, training workshops that you are attending on and off are a part of it. Then the informal learning scenarios like nukkad nataks, folklores, connecting to your roots, intergenerational dialogues. So all of them are a very, very accepted pedagogical approach. And this is where Terry is positioned in speaking and taking forward the EST principles. We do have material in English, Hindi, several regional languages. At times we want to translate into another language. We are open for that. Then how can EST be a game changer? EST can be a game changer only and if we are able to link it to the social, cultural, motivational features within the subject. It has to be done without textbooks. Of course, the material that is developed is only for the teachers to take in. We don't want to add another book for students. So that is why the solution is it has to address the goals, all the goals, the 17 goals that we've spoken about in a very, very popular science manner. How can we improve our teaching? Motivation is definitely said that there is lack of motivated teachers. I would say this is not true. There are motivated teachers. We have to just show them the way of how they can further equip their learning. And this can be done through putting all the skills together. And these days, you know, another word that has come up is 21st century skills, soft skills and all. And the 0 periods that we have in schools, the assemblies that we conduct are an excellent avenue for creating these skills within the students, because they need to learn from their, not from the textbook, but from their role models. Then we are aware of mission life and nudges, and I would say that teachers deserve intellectual nudges. And your presence today on this Saturday in this workshop itself is an intellectual nudge for you. Whatever you have heard, whatever you have seen, even if 4 or 5 principles get translated into a classroom, it has been an enrichment and the program has been successful. Another thing, you know, socio-emotional learning. This is not a course curriculum only for moral science, for divinity classes. It is very much for all the subjects. And when it was mentioned that mathematics is there in outside, mathematics is there in the malls, in the markets. Similarly, socio-emotional learning is something that creates a strong resilience amongst the children. And only students who are resilient, who are open to change, who are open to learn, they will be able to take in the concepts that are being taught and changed so many times. So this is what I would say that the teachers need to invest in, start being connected to the students, and understanding through an example is whenever you come across any tough situation, questions like who, what needs to be avoided. What we need to do is we have to look at the process. And the process is what was it that is not seen that led to this particular situation. To give you an example, you know, that's the next slide. There are 2 children who are fighting, and I think that slide somehow got mixed. And you just ask them that who beat up who, and the result is one of the student gets punished. So one student gets punished, the morale of that student becomes low. The other student who might be equally responsible for the fight goes without any punishment. what happens is we have tampered the socio-emotional foundation of the child. So what we need to do is we need to go across the scene, try to understand that why this particular thing happened. And once we are able to discuss and find out the root cause of this problem, it will be immediately taken off. Or what happens in future is the bullied becomes the bully. So this is very much there. Any child who has undergone any pressure in life automatically becomes the bully in future. And this is where the socio-emotional learning plays a very important role, not directly connected to ESD in terms of learning, but this is where, we need to put a lot of attention to. I will just miss this slide. What I wanted to show is that analysis, synthesis, evaluation, these are very, very important context. The challenges to take forward ESD, of course, financial supports is a constraint. We cannot be spending from our pocket. We have to look at opportunities where we can design projects that can be supported from financial players. Then reorienting environment educational concerns is very, very essential. They are done on a daily basis. And of course, there are boards that are responsible in changing the curriculum. Then strengthening the networks amidst the schools is very important. The school-to-school network really plays an important role. The students learn from each other, peer-to-peer learning happens, and some best principles practiced in a particular school are easily adopted by the other school. Then presence of locale specific material methods is a must. Education cannot be derived from a top-down approach. We have to learn from our own backyards. Then legal and regulatory measures are anyway done by the curriculum and the policy framework people. And then ESD professional development programs need to be curated. So maybe after some time, some of the teachers together can get in touch with your principals and you could curate a program for the entire teaching staff of your school. Because this type of training is really important when it goes to all levels of the school. I think I will just pause here. Any questions later or through ma'am, you're welcome to reach out to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for enlightening us. And may I now request our next speaker, Ms. Silla Edmonds, to deliver the talk. Ms. Edmonds is an ESD expert trained in Sweden and curriculum developer. Presently principal at the Birches, a school which is actively practicing ESD with students and will share her skills with us today. She has lectured at SECOL and the University of KZN and represented eco schools in 2011. She is also a story writer. Over to you, Ms. Edmonds.
And good morning to everybody from a very chilly South Africa. Our climate change has been up and down over the last few weeks, and I'm grateful today it is at least a sunny day. I have a slideshow to show you, so hopefully it will be interesting having something visual. And this is the beginning part where I want to say we have deliberately put sustainable living into our school. This is a mural that we have somewhere showing a happy, healthy KwaZulu-Natal, and it's made all out of waste. Next. I have just a photograph to put children into context. Our school, believe it or not, is a pre-primary, in other words, a kindergarten or a preschool. These are the children the year before they enter formal schooling. They have a range of cultures and religious groups, and obviously it is a multicultural school. Next. we have grappled as to how do we bring the concept of sustainability to young children. And we've decided that it has to be practical and it has to be holistic. So we have brought it into our curriculum in a way that we also have an outdoor classroom. There you go. Next is fine. Next. We decided in 2010 to actually draw a map of our school. It is obviously childlike because these are young children, but we see our school as an island. And we have taught our children that if we all look after our little space, the world can be taken care of. And we decided to start drawing all the little sustainable acts or all the areas of sustainability onto our map. It has got so full that we've actually stopped now, but I will explain and I will show you a few others. But we have a number of recycling depots. We've got a worm farm. We've got compost bays. We've got a chicken run. We have a solar heater on our kitchen. We've a food forest. We've got indigenous gardens, herb spirals, a food garden, and an organic garden. We've also got some tunnels. But let's go into where we're at and what we're doing. Next. Okay, to put us into history, if you had to be in Durban and you drove from the airport down the main road, you will see this huge block of flats on the hill. Believe it or not, our school in 1976 was established on a balcony, and the only soil we had was that little bit of soil that you can see on the right-hand side that was carried up in buckets. Next. We had to move, unfortunately, and it was actually the change of our history. You'll see at the top right-hand corner, I had parents who were quite happy to carry out every brick and everything. And we moved on to the premises of an old remedial school. This section here was unused. Next. You'll see we had a few parents who cordoned off the playground and started from the beginning to establish a new school. Next. So from December 1992, I found old prefabs on other premises, and we started a school just in prefabs. Now this sets the tone where I had to establish a school from nothing. Next. I reassure you that now, so many years later, it is a very beautiful school with lots of lovely equipment, but it did not happen easily because our school had no money, no resources except one teacher's salary from the Department of Education, and we had to begin with what we had. Next. In establishing the school between my offices and the classrooms, we decided to establish a water-wise garden. It was an empty space where it wasn't being used, so we decided it was a good idea to bring children into the context of our natural fauna and use that garden as an area where we could actually study insects and birds and so on. Next. I have divided that slide up into 4 to show you that over the years, it's become like a little bit of a jungle, a forest. The children love it. And on the top right-hand side, you'll see one of our youngest groups of 4 years old going on a color walk. They were all given strips to see if they could find some of those colors in the garden. One of the first science exercises. And on the bottom left, you'll see teacher guiding them to go through. And because it's like a forest, it's very exciting. They love it. We also use this little walkway, as I said, to look for shapes, for insects, for birds. It's just lovely, the sounds and the natural part that come into our lessons. Next. Well, I would like to challenge any other school that have as beautiful herb spirals that we have. We decided in the little space behind the bathroom, and this is where you'll notice we've used every little bit of our premises. This little space here, we put herb spirals, and the children often come and fetch herbs to go and bake muffins or to make special gifts at Father's Day and Mother's Day. Next. On the other side of the school, believe it or not, and also part of the playground, we have chickens. Now, this is a hen house that we've cordoned off and part of the playground, and it goes behind one of the classrooms. But there are 10 hens that are very much part of our school. And on the bottom right, you'll see that one of the little books I've written in photographs is called Sunshine Hen Hotel. We believe that children need to have access to these little creatures. And in fact, they're part of our school business, where the children feed the chickens, they collect the eggs, and free-range chickens are promoted rather than battery. We believe that comes in with the Sustainable Development Goals, where you're eating healthily, and in fact, it's a much more humane practice. Next. Aha, just a quick look at some of the stories I've written. I always have my camera with me. So I've taken photographs and turned them into stories. And these little stories, when reading them, they all inspire small acts of sustainability. The story of Sunshine Farm is where the actual original hens came from. It is a free-range chicken farm in Drummond, and hens do run around in the grass like that. And it was a brood of 10 that came to our school on the right-hand side. And that little Sunshine Hen Hotel book is encouraging people on putting up a little corner where you can keep hens in a very hygienic and humane way, and also using the compost and the manure for our gardens. At the bottom left, there's a story on the salad party. That's a little girl who had a birthday and didn't have any balloons or cake to have a party. So I allowed her to go into the gardens and create a salad party instead. So all their learnings is in that one. And on the right-hand side, under the camphor tree, is a story teaching children about alien trees and the damage they do in the school grounds. That particular tree there is very alien to South Africa. The camphor takes a lot of water out of the environment. We removed 9 out of the school, but that particular one we've kept because it is the chosen nesting place for beautiful hardy-daws and 2 particular geese that I love desperately. So our stories have a little bit of a background on what happens in our program every day. Next. Aha. Now, going on to our premises, I want to tell you that we believe we are part of the community. Education for Sustainable Development is giving the opportunity for people in the community to come and recycle. So you'll notice on the left-hand side, there's a circular instrument there. That's a solar cooker. We sometimes use it to cook maybe vegetable soup. We have there a dome for glass and paper and cans, and that generates a little bit of money that we use for our gardens. We don't have any funding for the use of grounds or to develop our grounds, so we use the recycling. But I want you to notice we've managed to put a roof over it, and it goes into a tank. Now that water tank there gathers all the rain from the roof, and it then goes into a fruit forest. That lovely tree over there with the white flowers is the elderberry tree. We can make elderberry juice. If the children were older, maybe elderberry wine, but for now, elderberry juice. Next, please. Aha, this is the fruit forest. Go back, please. Can you go back? Aha. The fruit forest is in a section of the grounds that we weren't using. There was an old alien tree there that we took down, and we planted mulberries and pawpaws and granadillas and bananas, and it has been a great source of joy. It's tucked away, far away from the children's classrooms, but it is visited regularly. Next. This is a group of children that belong to the Adventure Club. To bring education for sustainable development into the curriculum and cross-curricular, we have an hour a week where the children are involved in an eco club. And every class in the school has their own eco club. And this was a morning where the children went in to see if there was any fruit. Next. Aha. Can you see around the top of the slide? There are granadillas hanging down. One granadilla last year covered all the treetops. And when other fruit wasn't bearing, these granadillas were. So the children love going in, collecting granadillas and selling them. Next. Aha, that particular day, we collected a bunch of bananas. We've got a lot of bananas around the school. We have a tropical climate and they do well. And in our school, not only are we feeding, we are also encouraging children to actually start a little business. Next. Children don't need much to set up a shop and to sell things. Well, these children just got a few crates, and the next morning they had the bunches out and they started selling bananas at R2 each. You'll notice behind the school is a very lowly school still. On the one side, we've still got prefabs, but you'll see their sustainable living map there. And parents and visitors are very, very kind to the children by agreeing to buy the things that they have actually found. Next. Aha, this is our farm store. It was an old plastic receptacle that a very kind member of the community made into a farm stall for us. It has changed the design a few years, but for now it's got a little bit of a Swedish look. And we kept the farm stall sign, but it is made of wood that come from pallets. And there you can see another place that the children sell produce that comes from around the school. Next. Aha, we have joined the School Enterprise Challenge. And since 2012, we've been thoroughly involved in bringing entrepreneurship into the curriculum. Now, we began with setting up a nursery, and the children have learned different ways of propagation. You can see we've even got bottles that we've planted in, creating a green fence there. It is at the corner of the entrance gate into the school. And the children have had a wonderful, wonderful time gathering their worm tea. At the back, you'll see the door of the adventure room. There's a worm farm there. And on the shelf of the farm stall, you'll see little bottles. They're selling worm tea. On the right-hand side, you can see they're selling their own worm compost mixed with some of our own compost. Behind the sign, please support us, you'll see chips, wood chips. Any green or brown waste around the school is kept at source. It doesn't leave our school. And we managed to source a chipper. So in fact, we also sell wood chips for when we're not using them in the garden. Next. Aha. I didn't offer many pictures of children, but I have permission for these two who were working in the nursery. Remember that in preschool and beginning, children actually need to learn how to communicate. And entrepreneurship has been an amazing way to give children confidence, to help them work with money and number, to actually use their life skills that they have developed and so on. So these are the children that have won very many awards with the School Enterprise Challenge. And this year, we have become part of bringing the School Enterprise Challenge to the early years. So we're encouraging even preschools to take part in this program. Next. Aha. The old farm stall picture at the top left got us onto the School Enterprise Challenge, where we won a photograph competition. But why I put it there is that you can see the children are selling vegetables and eggs and various produce. They were lucky enough at the top right to win the South Africa Award for their green business. And at the bottom, that is where we won the Africa Region Award, just for these simple activities and sustainability happening in the school. So it's not just about recycling and water conservation. All of that happens as well. We are trying to make ourselves financially sustainable, and that financial sustainability then supports all the other activities in the school. Next. I have also written a few books. At the moment, Be Smart, Be Money Wise is a little entrepreneurship book that I encourage children from age 5 to age 10 to become money savvy. Money is, and the value of money is not part of the curriculum. And for me, they need to learn from very young that money doesn't grow on trees, and that in fact, you're not just saving the environment, you're saving in your pocket as well. So that's a little workbook. I do have a program for teachers and for schools on how to bring it into the curriculum too. And that is where I'm going to be working next year more with bringing sustainability into the curriculum, into other schools, and starting at the beginning if necessary. Next. Aha. One of our dreams when COVID began, a funder asked if there was anything that our school needed to start a new sustainability project. And we were very lucky to have actually had our dream realized, where we have a tunnel that allows every class in the school and every child in the school now to plant and put their hands into soil and start from the beginning, where they would plant food to eat in the school, make a small profit, and for them to see the complete circle from healthy eating. Too many children eat junk food. So to actually grow it and encourage them to eat healthily has been a real big part of the program. Next. That is a picture of the children that are in Young Explorers Club. In their hour, they came in to see that their spinach and spring onions were doing well. We try and follow all the permaculture principles, and sometimes they spend time crumpling eggshells around the spinach to stop the snails coming in. Sometimes they're watering with worm tea. Sometimes they're just there to pick out a few weeds, if there are a few weeds, and to see how they are going. Next. We use waste for everything. Here, these children are watering, but we're using plastic bottles with a very cute funnel on top, so that each of them have the opportunity of keeping our gardens going. Food gardens are so often on one corner and the children not involved, but these children are involved completely. And you'll see that we've even got the spinach and the carrots together, because we also practice companion planting. Next. Aha, there we have some adventurers on the top left in yellow and green, and we have some young explorers below in our red and orange groups, but they've all been into the tunnels, they've all collected vegetables, they've all helped be instrumental in preparing them and cooking, and that's where we had soup for the entire school, and there was still soup left for us to donate to a feeding scheme in Pinetown. Next. Aha, one teacher decided to use her tank, or one of her tanks last year, to grow runner beans. I can't believe that those runner beans were so plentiful in one container that she ended up having a bean party. Children who don't eat vegetables end up making a dip and ravishing beans. We had so much from the tunnel that they had salad days instead of their normal lunches. And we also then allowed beans to dry so that we could plant them the next year. Next. And this year, everybody wanted to grow beans. So every single child in every single class got a bean seed that we had dried from the year before, and using a lot of broomsticks that we had donated, they started growing these runner beans. Well, I can't believe it. The runner beans grew so high that we had to have string taking them to the ceiling, and they named it their bean forest. Do you notice what the children are watering with there? Those are Stay Soft bottles. Instead of them being thrown away, we've used them again by putting holes in the lid and one on top. And it is just ideal too for the children all to have an effort. So our bean forest at this moment is bearing, and it's holiday time. So we're a little worried, but not too much. When we go back to school next week, we intend to have bumper bean parties. We're intending to have sales and, auctions on WhatsApp, selling some of our produce as well. Next. Often we get the opportunity of spreading our news in the newspaper, and I was delighted that they took photographs of these children holding some of these seeds. And quite often we now get visitors in our school. We have the University of KZN come and do workshops at our school over weekends occasionally. And we also have primary and high schools visit. And quite often they come back to us with new ideas or stories where they've changed their own grounds. Next. Well, we are never asleep. We heard that there was going to be a 5G cell phone tower just a little way from our school. Now, we're not sure that cell phone towers are a good idea where the brains are developing in a young child. So we set up a big strike to say, please, we do not want it near our school. Rather put the towers on top of a mountain or a hill nearby, but not right next to schools, and especially an eco school. Next. Aha, I thought you would like the picture on the left-hand side. That parent and that family worked together to make that sign and to give the little boy a hat made of tin foil. Now, if you look at those children, they're very young. They're making a statement. By the way, they're not on the street. They're in a cul-de-sac near our school, and we've used social media to get everybody's attention. But you can see it's not just the children in our school, it's whole families and the community that have been involved in real issues. We've had marches for water. We've had marches against climate change. We've had marches to preserve the rhinos, but this was a very big one that we did. We ended up getting a lot of media attention. I believe we weren't successful. However, 4 years later, that cell phone tower is not up. So I do believe that we made an impact. Next. Well, the School Enterprise Challenge is run by an organization called Teach a Man to Fish. And I'm thrilled that this year's Teach a Man to Fish poster included one of my photographs of the children who entered the trash to cash competition last year. And I'm thrilled that this year they've opened it up for children from age 5 to 7, and then teams of children all the way up to the age of 25. But the idea is every year they challenge schools to collect waste and to see if they can change that waste into money rather than trashing the environment. Next. This is a picture of the children in front of our farm stall. You'll see at the bottom left, last year we collected many, many bottle tops. We also collected mayonnaise bottles. The children turned them into necklaces and games. In the middle, the bottom, you'll see we also collected the bottles and put plants in them. We hang them up on fences and we sell them to encourage other people to have a green space as well. On the bottom right-hand side, you can see that these children have had an amazing time working in teams. They have divided colors, they've worked on numbers, and that little group there of 5 are now at primary school. And I know that every single child that comes into contact with them will know about the Trash to Cash Challenge. Next. That is the end of my little slideshow. I just want to ask if there's anybody who feels there is value in an outdoor program as well as an indoor program. If you think there's value in establishing these life skills at such a young age, I would like to hear it. Is there anybody who would like to correspond, maybe look at their own grounds and changing it into a hive of sustainability? I would be very grateful to hear it. And what about drawing up a school map or a university map, why not look at every little corner to establish something that is going to inspire acts of sustainability? And that's the end of my little input today. I'm hoping that you found it interesting. I wish you luck and lots of success in what you managed to do today. Thank you very much for inviting me. I am extremely honored to be here. And goodbye from South Africa.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks for this insightful presentation and showing us that how at your school you are implementing ESD. So I would request all the teachers to hold your questions for quite some while, because after the last presentation, we will be having this question and answer session. After in that session, you can ask your questions from our speakers. So may I now request our next speaker, Mr. Martin Gerard, to deliver his keynote talk. Mr. Gerard has a long experience of working in the ESD sector and is the general coordinator for the UNESCO Baltic Sea project, which is operational in 9 countries, involving 180 schools. He is also the national coordinator for schools in the Ministry of Education at Germany. He also conceived and coordinated Agenda 21 Now project, operational since 1999. Over to you, Mr. Gerard.
Yes, good morning or good day to everyone. I first of all would like to ask you whether you can understand me as I'm talking. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Wonderful. And I can see you in the audience sitting there, and I know you have been sitting there for more than 2 hours now. And I must say, I really admire how you're doing that, sitting there, listening, and you're very patient and you seem very concentrated. That would be different in Germany, I think. People wouldn't sit there for 2 hours. So you're really good at listening and being in a conference. And thank you for waiting for so long to listen to what I'm going to say now. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm going to talk a little about the Baltic Sea project. And I know from where you are sitting in India, this is far away. And I would like to announce that at the very end, there will be an option for you to get in touch with us, and also to if you wish to be a part of what we are doing. So this is not only a presentation about what we are doing up here in the north in Europe. It is also something that, if you think this is interesting for you, can take part in to some extent. And just as a small announcement at the very beginning, I'm going to share a presentation with you, and just a moment. Hope I can do that. Should be now that you can see my presentation. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. It is working, sir.
Wonderful. So this is the website of the Baltic Sea project. And you can see this project has been existing since 1989. The Baltic Sea project is a cooperation of about 200 schools in 9 countries in northern Europe. Next slide. Yes, I would like to show you a little where we are situated. I hope you can see my cursor here. This is where you are in India, and this is where we are in northern Europe. The Baltic Sea is in fact this here, this small sea. It is a bay, if you want that, and this is where all the countries are sitting around the Baltic Sea. So a little closer to Europe. The Baltic Sea here is again. So there's some countries around the Baltic Sea, Germany and Denmark and Sweden and Finland and Russia with the St. Petersburg area, and Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania and Poland. This is also a small Russian territory. Yes, 9 countries around the Baltic Sea. And as you look at this map of Europe, you can see Europe consists of many small countries. And in fact, I'm not myself sitting in Germany right now because I'm living in neighboring Denmark. So I'm talking to you from Denmark this morning, a country with only 6 million inhabitants. And some of these countries here are even smaller. Yes, and I would like to take you on a little to little history of the Baltic Sea project by showing you a map of 1989, of the year when the Baltic Sea project, the abbreviation is BSP, when the BSP was founded. And as you can see, in 1989, there were two Germanys, West Germany and East Germany. Denmark was there, Sweden was there, Finland, and then the Soviet Union. What is today Russia was the Soviet Union in those times. And here where Lithuania and Latvia and Estonia are today, that was part of the Soviet Union. Poland and East Germany here, which is part of the United Germany today. So quite a bit has changed since the BSP, the Baltic Sea project, was founded in Europe. And it was Europe was divided in those times into East and West, and there was an Iron Curtain, as we call it. So it was really not possible to go from West German to East German to have people cooperate or something like that. That was totally impossible. And in 1989, there was a lady in Finland, a teacher, such as most of you are, a teacher from Finland who said, this is not really a good situation. It is so important that we talk to our neighbors, that students and teachers get in contact to each other. And this lady was named Lisa Jääskeläinen from Finland. She's still alive. I visited her last year. And she had the idea that all the countries around the Baltic Sea, teachers and students primarily, should cooperate because they have one topic together, and that is the Baltic Sea. You can imagine that in the 80s, there was a lot of pollution in the Baltic Sea caused by all the countries having a coast of the Baltic Sea. So we really had a topic to discuss. And Lisa's idea was bringing these people together and let them talk, let them work together on the pollution on the Baltic Sea. And yeah, this is a current map of the Baltic Sea. You should know that the Baltic Sea project today consists of about 200 schools. So 200 schools, teachers and students, principals, and also parents are working in the Baltic Sea project. And the structure of our project is that there is always one nation taking responsibility for the whole. So being the generally coordinating country. At the moment, this is Denmark and Germany together. And the general coordination has been going around the Baltic Sea since it was founded in 1989. So you can see the years here when these countries have been responsible. All the countries have taken part in this and are going to do that in the future. So currently it's Germany and Denmark. We are sitting here. And it's going further to Poland from 2028 on, and we're already talking to Poland. What are you going to do from 2028, and how can we make this possible that you take over and it will continue to be a success, the Baltic Sea project? When you look at the Baltic Sea project website, and that might also be interesting for you, there's a lot of teaching materials. I suggest you just go through it and take a look at what we've done in the past. There's a lot of teaching materials. This is just one example. It's from the year 2000, so quite old, but I think it's still good because it is quite inspiring and it works with sustainability. And that's what all these teaching materials do. Most of these things are books, but it's downloadable books. So you can download them as PDFs and then see what you can do with it, which chapters are important for you and for your teaching at school. And as said, the Baltic Sea project started with the Baltic Sea, with pollution and such things. Today, it is all about sustainable development, education for sustainable development. So it is, of course, still about the Baltic Sea. It is still about the ecology, but it's most of all also about quality education. And it's about all these countries here together. Because if you look at history, the last 100 years, you must say lots of these countries have been on war with each other in the past. World War II is an example. World War I is an example. Denmark and Germany fought each other in the 19th century several times, which means this territory where I'm sitting on, it is a Danish territory at the moment. It used to be a German territory for 60 years in the 19th century. And so a lot of bad things happened. And talking about the sustainability as we see it, it is not only about pollution. It is not only about the beauty of the Baltic Sea. It is not only about all these beautiful things that we heard from South Africa. Of course, they're all important. It is also about people living together peacefully and not go on war with each other. And that is really a task here we have in Europe, with these many countries, with these many cultures, with these many languages, with these many beliefs and religions, living peacefully together for a sustainable future. That's the task the UNESCO Baltic Sea project has taken over. So I'm going back to this here. We are a UNESCO project, the United Nations Organization for Education, Science, Culture, and Communication. We are a part of it, and this is how we see each other. Many different people from many different areas working together on one goal, on the sustainability, with its many sub goals. And how are we doing this? One of the things that we really focus on is that people have fun together. When you have people who meet internationally, of course, they need to do seminars, such as you're doing that now, still sitting there patiently, looking and listening to what I'm saying. It's about having fun together. It's about being there in an evening like this around a campfire and talking to each other without having a program, for example. It is about going somewhere and meeting other people from other nations, such as this camp here, where 100 people met a couple of years ago, and we do that regularly. And this is about sitting in a boat, as you can see. And I would like to show you a short movie, just 5 minutes of a movie that you can find on the Baltic Sea Project website, to show you a little how this is going on. So I kindly ask you to please start the movie.
I guess it all started even a long time ago, 27 years ago, when we first started coming here as a school. That grew and grew, and we started coming here with all of our 8th and 9th graders the entire year, and that's how it grew into such a large camp. But then we started meeting with other teachers who are involved with the UNESCO Baltic Sea project, and they just kind of asked, so do you have visitors, international visitors? And me and the other project manager, Dennis Stahl, we asked ourselves the same questions. Why haven't we done something bigger? Why haven't we invited some other students and teachers from other nations? And we decided to apply for funding and just put on a big international camp and invite all of the countries surrounding the Baltic Sea. It's not about making it bigger. There's I guess several goals that we have in the back of our mind. We like just this kind of intercultural exchange between the different countries. But as far as the content is concerned, that's all based around environmental literacy and getting these international students together to cooperate and work on common goals. And in that case, this is all surrounding just everything you see around us, the Baltic Sea as an ecosystem, learning about it, learning about how it changes, how we affect the changes of this ecosystem, and also how we can learn to protect this environment as well.
Okay, thank you.
We're about to look up some plants in such dictionaries, and it's quite tough because the easy ones have already been identified by others. So yeah, we just try to get some more, but it's tough, but fun.
Our project is about making a big model of the island to show the different coastlines and to show the different species of the plants.
And what can you use that for in the future?
Well, you can use the project to explain why the island looks how it looks, and if you look at two different maps from the map that shows the island now and the map that shows the island from 200 years ago, there's a huge difference between the two of them. So we can use our project to explain basically how the island is going to look in the future and why.
This is about different species at the Baltic Sea, coastline and water.
Yeah, so we have an application here and we're trying to identify the shells we found before at the beach.
Yes, thank you for showing this movie. I'm going to share my screen again in my slideshow. I hope I'm still audible. I hope you can still hear me. Is that so?
Yeah, sir, you are audible, sir.
Wonderful. So I thought I'd like to give you some impressions on how we work when we do international camp. There is a next camp coming in September in the same place. And it is a sustainability camp, of course, as it is always in the Baltic Sea project. I'm so grateful that Nilima Gerard this morning showed the same picture as the one I'm showing now, Earthrise, because that is something the Baltic Sea project also works with. And that maybe shows to you that even though we are far away from each other, it's kind of the same things we're working with. It's sustainability, and it is something that we call global citizenship education. The idea that the young people here in Europe are not the only ones on the planet, and that Europe isn't the only place on the planet that is important, but that there is one world and it is just a small planet in a large universe, and it is our responsibility to together take care of this planet. So global citizenship education was adopted as a program in the Baltic Sea project in 2019. And some examples on one example on how we work with this is another conference, just a small insight into a conference we held in 2018 in northern Germany. Here is the audience, 330 people together sitting in a conference, working together for 5 days. You can see it's mostly adults, so it's teachers and students and international coordinators and experts. And as I said, it's also students. You can see young people among.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. Your screen is not shared.
My screen is not shared. I'm so sorry. I will do that. Thank you for reminding me. Just a moment. Can you see it now? I guess so. Can you see my screen now? The screen with the audience.
Yes, sir.
People sitting- Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. So an example of a conference, the Baltic Sea Project, held in 2018. So you can see many teachers here, many coordinators, adults, but you can also see students here sitting amongst them, 330 people. And what we did in this conference was this here. As you might remember, it's 9 countries working together. And all of them have their own language, all of them have their own culture, and none of us speaks English as a first language. And we had the idea that if somebody talks to the large audience, that could have been me as the coordinator, of course, or that could be my Danish colleague, or it could have been my Russian colleague or my Estonian colleague. But we decided that students can do that. And we asked around students, that's 2 German students here, is it possible that you stand in front of an audience, 330 people, and you talk to the audience to tell them what to do, you talk to them about the program, you answer their questions, you get, of course, any help you might want? And they said yes, and that's what they did. These 2 girls, 16-year-old, they talked to the audience whenever we met in the large audience, and that worked very, very well. So we have a tradition of bringing young people on the stage and working with young people as a part of the Global Citizenship Education Project, that it's not only teachers and coordinators who stand in front, we put the students in front. This is about the conferences. I already mentioned the Oro Camp, the movie was from. The next one is in September. Some other conferences taking place. And these are, again, some pictures of the Oro Camp when it is built up. You can see it's tents and lots of bags. And we have a kitchen crew, of course. People need to be fed. And it's people sitting together in workshops. You saw that in the movie already. And this is presentations. At the end of the workshop, on the last day, of course, all workshops do presentations, which mean all the people are sitting there and the workshop people will talk about the results and what they have done throughout the camp in the camp days. Another example, the second example of what we're doing is the so-called whole institution approach or whole school approach. And that has again to do with the young people. This is a picture of a meeting we held in June in northern Germany of the BSP. That was a BSP meeting. And as you can see, there's lots of adults, teachers, coordinators, but you can also see a lot of young faces, because our principle is, it is a very basic principle. We never have teachers meetings. We never have coordinators meetings. We only have meetings where everybody is. So teachers, coordinators, students, some parents also, and guests that wish to work with us. And this is a picture of this meeting where young people from Denmark, so that was a German meeting with guests from Denmark, and these young people were discussing their role in our project. You can see this, you can hopefully read what this is about. They talk about the young people and their role and how much they would like to take part in organizing such projects and also making the decisions in these projects. And this is exactly what the whole institution approach is about. It's no longer not only teachers and coordinators making the decisions. It's more and more also young people who take part in these sessions and are a part of the decision making. This is another example from March 2022 from Copenhagen. This is a meeting of the coordinators of the Baltic Sea Project. You remember it's 9 countries, so there's 9 coordinators from the countries and also some teachers. And again, you can also see young faces. And that's students from the 9 countries who wish to take part of the team that is discussing the important issues of the Baltic Sea Project and that is making the decisions. And yeah, that is how we are working at the moment. With the whole institution approach. I would also like to mention, this is a map, as you can see, from Eastern Asia, that there are other people in the world, especially from Japan and from South Korea, who are interested in seeing how we work in the Baltic Sea Project in Northern Europe. because the idea is that Japan and South Korea and Taiwan and the Philippines and maybe Vietnam and others, it's of course their decision, could have a similar cooperation as we have in Northern Europe. And this is why we had visitors from South Korea, for example, and also from Japan. And in fact, in September 2023, when we hold our next camp on the island of Åre, where the movie was taken in 2017 and 19, we will have guests from Japan. This is Hideki Maruyama, a professor for education for sustainable development from the Sophia University in Tokyo in Japan, together with 7 students, university students, will participate. And so this is about the future now. The next things that are going to happen have a lot to do with the people we are working with. I showed you Hideki Maruyama. I showed you this lady from South Korea. I showed you all these young people and these coordinators from the Baltic Sea Project countries who have done a lot of great things to run the Baltic Sea Project since 1989 up to today. But what is next has to do with these people. Nelima, Gerard, I hope you can identify yourself on this picture. It's an old picture showing that we have cooperated for a long time in the past. And this is a picture of young faces from one of our last conferences taken in June this year. This is, again, a picture of young people cooperating with us. This is a picture from Finland, from a camp, a very cold camp in early May. It was only 2 degrees, so people are really in pullovers and jackets because it was so cold. But we were cooperating outside and doing great things together on a small island in an archipelago close to the Finnish coast in the Baltic Sea Project. It also depends on you and what is going to happen in the future. The Baltic Sea Project wishes to develop its agenda. It wishes to work with many people from the Baltic Sea area, and we're also working with guests. You've seen the people from Japan who will be joining us in September. And this is also, should I say, an invitation? It is an option for you to get in contact to us, to work with us through this website, of course. The BSP website is this one here, bsp.org. You can see this here, the URL. And if you wish to get in contact to me, I'm happy to receive an email from you. And I do hope, as we did in the past, a long time ago, that there can be a cooperation that extends to you in India. So if I have been inspiring for you, if this has been interesting for you, I will be happy to hear from you and see what we can do if there is a chance to do something together. Thank you so much for today. And of course, open for your questions and comments. Looking forward to discussing with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the wonderful presentation and enlightening us with your valuable views. So now the platform is open for discussion. If you have any questions from our speakers, you can ask. Please hand over the mic to the audience. Yeah, ma'am, we have just. Please raise your hand if you want to ask the question. Yeah, please. Thank you.
So good afternoon to all of you. So my question is for Ms. Edmonds. Personally, I just want to send kudos to you, what you are doing, how you maintain your green school. That's remarkable. So I'm also running a school, and 80% my work is replicate with yours. I just want one help from you and your advice. How you build this community, how you bring parents into the school. Though we have started circle times, we just want to build a community. But my challenge is here, parents are not getting involved in most of the activities. So if you can suggest me, and moreover, I would love to connect with you after that. Thank you.
Well, if I can answer, I think that is something that is everywhere. I think parents are working very hard and they're leaving it to the teachers. However, I have found that projects like making posters and sending it home, I have found by having a very active WhatsApp group where I take photographs of what the children are doing. And every now and again, there's a parent that's very proud of what their child has done, and then they want to be involved. So there are little ways, but I think as much as you can promote what you're doing will get parents involved. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've enjoyed this level of education, is that when children are very young, parents do take a lot more interest. They are a lot more engaged in where their children are going to go and what they're going to do. So good luck to you. I think you just do your best, but try if you possibly can, put it out there on social media. It seems to be what parents respond to the most.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Good afternoon, everyone. At the outset, I would like to congratulate Pushpa Gujarat Science City and Sustainable Development Project team for organizing such a wonderful interaction. I have a few questions, rather one question, but few comments. Firstly, regarding admin, ma'am, you are doing a wonderful job, so kudos to you. And I definitely, there are many inspirational stories in your program, and we would like to emulate that at our end also. So thank you very much. My question is to Ma'am Livleen Kaur. Ma'am, regarding the concept that you are running at Mukteshwar, how I can approach you for that, and how we can be part of that endeavor that you are doing. Thank you.
So was that to me? I didn't hear that.
No, ma'am, I wanted to appreciate your point. Thank you so much for your experiences and sharing those experiences with us. So my question is to Ma'am Livleen.
Thank you.
So Mukteshwar, Terry has a facility. It's Terry's field station. We do research in Mukteshwar related to medicinal plants, and there is a residential facility there. At a time, we can accommodate around 70 students and teachers, like the ratio is 10:1. We have camps there, very good camps. We've also seen some of the camps similarly.
Yes,
there are rooms, there are suites, and a camp can be organized. Usually, the duration is 4 nights, 3 days for one residential camp. And the sessions that are undertaken in the camp is renewable energy opportunities, biotechnology, medicinal plants, then tea culture, and then along with that, basic EST capsules that the school wants familiarization on. There is a full-fledged curriculum on this. What I could do is I'll forward it to Ma'am Nilima ma'am, and please get in touch with her, and she can share it.
How do the schools communicate or coordinate with you? So that do the schools have to make some kind of financial payments to you, or?
There will be a financial contribution. You want to come to the camps directly to Mukteshwar, that can be done, or Terry will also arrange stay from Delhi to Mukteshwar. So all the details related to the camp, the financial per child cost, logistic arrangement, security arrangement, there is a proper brochure on that. I will communicate and forward it to ma'am, and you can please be in touch.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My question is to Prosila. First of all, I would like to congratulate to you. The story you have shared with us is very inspiring. My question is also related to that one. That despite resourceless, how you keep yourself so inspiring that you keep going on, you start from scratch and built up a so beautiful school.
Believe me, I am needing to retire because I'm older than retirement age now. But it has been an absolute joy because there's so many people that when they hear your dreams, step in to achieve them. And what is just so amazing is I've been here 32 years. I now have children that are teaching for me, and I have an ex-pupil that is the chairman of our governing body. So believe me, whatever seeds you sowed early on, it gets taken and it changed all over the world. So for me, that is what's kept me going, is that there's so many children and so many people that have then taken on the baton and done amazing things in their own space or on their own island. Thank you for that.
Thanks, ma'am, for answering the question. Yes, yeah.
So, Martin, sir, I just want to ask one thing. Assume we are going to collaborate with you. My question would be seems to be a little vague. Like your program, this Baltic Sea project, and in which you are running this global citizenship program. So whether they are working on the SDG 14's, life on in water, or like we are people from land. We have wetlands, we have little rivers, which are not existing nowadays. So either we need a prior knowledge about these things if our students are going to participate in your program. I mean, I'm a little confused here.
You're not confusing me. Thank you so much for this question. I think learning works through examples. And if it works best through examples. So if you wish to get connected to us and with what you have where you are, getting connected to what we are doing and how we are where we are, that would start with the communication on the situation, both where you are and where we are, and how we could get in touch on that, and what the topics would be that we would choose from the many possible topics to work with. So that would be a question of talking to each other, getting in touch, and figuring out what is best for us. That would be my suggestion as a start. So not the whole thing, not every country, all schools. It's just one example that you can handle and we can handle, and then we can see how this can be carried out. That would be my suggestion to start a cooperation.
Thank you, sir. I'll write you shortly then. I'll write one email to you, sir.
Please do that. I'm looking forward to reading that and replying to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And any more questions? So I think there are no questions now. So thank you, everyone. Thanks to all the speakers for giving the answers of. Okay.
Very good afternoon. Actually, there is no question. I want to ask for one solution rather, because most of the time we used to say no to plastic. Why we are banning plastic here? Why don't we ban the industries that are manufacturing the plastic day by day? And most of the students in the schools, they are getting their food packaging in plastic bags, and it should be, I think, banned at least for students. So this is one of the major point. Instead of discussing any kind of problems, we should come to the solutions, because here today's lecture is on sustainable development, education on sustainable development. So instead of imparting knowledge like how to sustain development, this is the major part. We should stop the things that are creating problem for sustainability of the development. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I totally agree with this ma'am. As she has pointed out that instead of, imposing the prohibition on the students and the public, why don't we think of some other alternative on the industries? One thing more, that biodegradable plastic is available here in India. And in Golden Temple and in some other religious places, these are used. That is a very good option, because we are unable to give up plastic and poly bags at our home, because so many things are packed on those poly bags. And even the folders, milk bags, and so many other things. So at our whole household, at home front, sometimes it becomes very difficult for us to give up the plastic and poly bags. Why we are not getting the substitution for that, replacement for that? If the biodegradable bags are made economic, cheaper, we can afford it. Everybody will afford it. So this is my suggestion. We should think over it. And one thing more, that if we look at our households, many things we are using in plastic bottles, shampoo bottles, oil bottles, milk bottles, so many other bottles, and there is no culture of refilling the bottles, rather we throw it out. So once we use the shampoo bottle, that goes into the trash. So we don't have the culture here to refill the bottles. I have seen somewhere on the internet in some of the countries, people, they bring their old shampoo bottles at the shop and they refill it 100 ml or 200 ml or 500 ml, and they pay for that shampoo only. They don't pay for the bottle. Here in India, we are paying for the bottles also. Sometimes the products which we are using, especially the cosmetic products or some other expensive products, we pay more value for the packaging rather than the product. So this way, the things may become cheap and economic. So these are one of some of the suggestions, if we can work on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for the suggestion.
A very good afternoon to all of you. A very good point raised by her, which always disturbs me also, and ma'am has extended. And along with that, if I say that too many waste material, which you can see nowadays when the floods were there, I was watching the news, all that waste was floating on that into the houses, onto the streets. And really, it was a serious discussion which we should think upon it, that the waste everywhere, the waste and waste, how to dispose of that. That is the main thing, which is covering, I think, most of the land areas and even the sea, which we see that all the animals are affected, all the human beings, they are being affected. Why don't we work on that how to dispose of that waste even, and to get rid of such problems in our daily life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your wonderful suggestions. Let me inform you that for this very reason only, to educate students, we at Science City are establishing different SDask clubs in different schools to educate students. So I would request all of you to be the part of that SDG club, so that your students, they may also get some information from us, and then they may get aware that how they can protect our environment and Mother Earth. So thank you, everyone. Once again, I suppose there are no more questions now. Okay, so please.
And I'm representing Punjab School Education Board. My question is to Ma'am Edmonds. Ma'am, I would like to know, like you have spoken about the sustainable development curriculum you have implemented at primary level. Is there any efforts being made to extend this to middle school or the high school also as well? I would like to know about that. Am I audible?
Ma'am, your mic is on mute, I think so. Miss Edmund. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. I do know that it's quite difficult to change a curriculum, but I have seen a number of teachers include it in their subjects and in primary school as well. I've seen it in high school too. In South Africa, there are quite a few proactive schools that have an eco club in the afternoon, or it's a voluntary one during break time. So I do think I have noticed small changes, but it seems as though the curriculum is so vast that it's up to the individual teachers as to how much they bring in. And I do believe that if you look at your school grounds, there should be an opportunity for there to be a learning first-hand environment wherever you are. It just makes it so much easier. And that's how our school has grown. We've just got so many areas that people can look at. So when primary schools and high schools and the university students come and see us, they see possibilities. And if they just take one idea back with them, they will. So yes, I'm not quite sure if that answers your question. I do believe it's something we should keep pushing. And one thing about the entrepreneurship side, that seems to get everybody's interest. And if you just think of the economics and the subjects that link with it, you are getting rid of pollution if you're going for the trash to cash challenge and so on. And life skills are what our children need. And there's just so many subjects that are interrelated. So I think as education for sustainable development teachers, we've got to see those possibilities and we've got to keep plugging them for wherever we can.
And my next question would be the curriculum which is being implemented in your school, is it common throughout the state, or it is you, it is only because of your effort it is being there in your school?
Presently, I'm being invited to more and more workshops, and more teachers are coming to our school, so that we are trying to spread it. It's always the commitment, I think, of the principal or the teachers involved as to whether they bring it into their subject. But Eco Schools is doing an amazing job, and that is international. This Teacher Man to Fish is a British organization, but they're working a lot in India as well. And so I do believe it is something that is growing, and it's up to this body to make sure it grows even more.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
We can take one or two more questions if anybody has. Just
Good afternoon, everyone. I don't have a question actually, but for the suggestions which have come from some of my colleagues, I think that, of course, government has to work, the organizations, they have to work, but we need to realize that it starts with me. Firstly, we need to realize we need to start. Sade government schools which I'll make it trilingual. साड़ी गवर्नमेंट स्कूल च एक लाइन लिखी हुंदी है कि जे मैं ईमानदार हो जाऊंगा ते दुनिया तो एक बेईमान कट जाएगा. So it starts with me, I think. It should start with me. Secondly, some of the things which have come up from the speakers end. One is simplicity over the formality. If we go for simplicity and not for the formality, of course, our needs will get reduced. And the reduction in the needs will definitely lead to lowering the load over the companies to produce more. So lesser production, because it's basically, we need to realize it's basically a cycle of demand and supply. If we reduce the demand, of course, supply will reduce. And if we start saying no to such things, which are definitely hazardous for us, definitely the production will also lesser down and ultimately stop. So we should say no. If we say no, of course, it will definitely bring about a big change. Recently, there was a poem by Dr. Satinder Sartaaj कि ये तो एक फितरत है जिसमें कुल मखलूक है माहिर भी, ये तो एक हिफाजत है जो लाजिम भी है जाहिर भी, दो बातों के इख्तिलात को समझ के चलिएगा क्योंकि चौकस होने और किसी का डर होने में फर्क है. सो चौकस रहिए, डरिए मत, ना डराने की कोशिश कीजिए. गवर्नमेंट के डर से किसी चीज को बंद करना और अपने इंटेलेक्ट को यूज करके किसी चीज को बंद करना, there is a lot of difference. Government is not in our control, but our intellect is there with us. So if we start saying no as a person, it will start a movement, because ultimately sustainable development is a movement from greed to need, a movement from formality to simplicity. So at last, I will like to pray for this whole world, as Sir has rightly said, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Bhavantu Niramaya, Sarve Sarvani Vatyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukh Bhag Bhavet. So Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So many suggestions were there. So anyone of you, if would like to comment, yes, please.
Yes, thank you. I want to ask Ms. Patel, and this question is more on behalf of all the participants. You spoke about collaborations, that currently you have this 9-country Baltic Sea project. So we do see a lot of possibilities of joining hands with you from India through different partners. So would you like to let us know how this collaboration can be formalized? That would be really nice. And if I catch it right, you are a part of ASP.NET. So ASP.NET was earlier a Singapore-based collaboration that had stepped up. So is this the same one or is this something different? Martin, are you still there? Yeah, thank you.
Yes, I have understood your question. Thank you. My answer to the last question first, yes. I was talking about, I said UNESCO, but meant the UNESCO ASP.NET. Yes, and this is what we're working with and what we are a part of. We are a regional project inside the UNESCO ASP.NET in the Baltic Sea project. That is correct. I would suggest, if we want to start a cooperation, that you first of all take a look at the Baltic Sea project website, because there are so many different activities, so many different things to do. You figure out what that is that you would like to be a part of, or that is interesting for you because it fits to what you need, where you want to go with education for sustainable development. And then we get in touch through you writing me or hold a Zoom you write to me, and then we could hold a Zoom conference and figure out where that is you could participate or where you could contribute. And I would like to stress that it's important for us that collaboration is something that happens really vice versa, in the way that you of course take part in something we do, but the next step would of course be we develop something together. Because if you take part from India, which is far away from we are culturally also, and in the way you work with education for sustainable development, we in the Baltic Sea project want to learn from that. So that will be something that is a learning process for us if you take part. So think about that. If you think about joining us or working with us, that there is, of course, is something we might want to learn from you, so that it goes in both directions. And what that exactly could be, I think that should be subject to our discussion, to a private discussion we have, as soon as you have figured out what that is you might be interested in. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
I have a question, Martin, regarding the programs which you are suggesting or which are on your website. Are there some in online mode also? You would recall in Germany, we had made a group for a CloudSat education network, which went on successfully for 5-6 years till the duration of the project. So is it something like that? If you have any programs, any collaborative activities which could be done in online mode, I think a lot of people would be more interested in that.
Thank you. I didn't hear the first sentences of your question properly, but I hope I understood that you were talking about a book, about the learner's guides. We were making these books where we developed teaching materials for the people, for teachers and students in the Baltic Sea project. And my answer is yes, we are developing such a book on global citizenship education at the moment, because this is still experimental what we're doing. We're experimenting with participation of young people, with getting young people involved and making them a part of the structures that we have. Not everything of this is successful. And we're in contact to scientists. So there's also undergoing some research, because that is a new territory, a new educational territory we're working with. And this is why we would really appreciate other people, for example, from India, collaborating with us on that, using your experience in that field, if there is any, to develop a good way to work with this in different countries and different parts of the world. So yes, the idea is making a book together. Yes, the idea is creating an editorial group consisting of teachers, students, coordinators, experts, other people who are interested in, and then go into that process. The process hasn't yet started. We're thinking about how to run this process and who should be a part of it and what this process should look like. So that's subject to discussion. I would say, welcome to the discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for participating in the discussion very actively, and I hope all the questions are answered now. So now I request our chief guest, Director General Science City and Director Science City, to honor our speakers. Ma'am, please. I request you all to come on the stage, in the center stage rather. Yes. Chief guest, ma'am, please. So I first request to honor our keynote speaker, Dr. Livleen Kaur-Kahlo, by presenting memento. Ma'am, please. Ma'am, if you can come at the front, it will be easy to take the photographs. So yes, thank you. Mr. P.C. Tiwari. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. And now I request Director General Science City and Director Science City to honor our chief guest. Please accept the memento as a token of regard, and thank you, ma'am, for sparing your valuable time. And now I request Dr. Rajesh Grover, Director Science City, to propose vote of thanks. Please, sir.
So very good afternoon to all of you. And finally, we come to the close of this international seminar, and I take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks. And it's with immense pleasure and gratitude, and I take this opportunity to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks on behalf of the organizing committee of this international seminar on education for sustainable development, building knowledge, skills, attitude. First and foremost, I would like to express my deep gratitude to Dr. Sadbir Bedi, Chairperson, Punjab State Education Board, for agreeing to be the chief guest at this occasion. Ma'am, your esteemed presence has added immense value to the seminar, and we are grateful for the insights shared at this occasion. Our heartfelt thanks to, I think Dr. Rupanjali Karthik is not here, but She was here. She joined us online, the online mode, and our heartfelt thanks to her for joining us and gracing the event. And in fact, she gave an inspiring and motivational talk to us. Thank you, ma'am, for in absentia. I take this opportunity to convey my thanks to her. And I would also like to take this opportunity to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Neelima Jairath, Director General, for exemplary leadership throughout this seminar. In fact, her extensive experience and expertise in the field of environment have been truly invaluable and provided with a strong foundation for our discussions. Thank you, ma'am, for leading us from the front. And our sincere appreciation goes to Mr. Martin Gerard, General Coordinator of the UNESCO Baltic Sea Project, Germany. His contribution as a guest speaker has enriched our understanding and of the significance of education for sustainable development. And thank you, Martin, and for your grateful and valuable insight and inputs. We are honored to have had the privilege of hosting Ms. Sila Edmonds, the principal of the Bars in Durban, South Africa, and her insightful presentation has shed light on the practical implementation of sustainable development in education institutions. And we extend our sincere thanks to her. And we extend our heartfelt appreciation to Dr. Livleen Kalon, Associate Director at TERI, for sharing her valuable experiences in promoting sustainable practices. We are grateful to you, ma'am, for joining us today. We would also like to express our sincere gratitude to Shri P.C. Tiwari, Assistant Commissioner, Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan, for his presence and sharing sustainability, and especially how you are promoting sustainability in the Kendriya Vidyalayas. And I would also like to express our heartfelt thanks to all our teacher participants who have joined us today. Your presence has added value to this seminar. And we hope that the knowledge and insights gained during the event will be put into action and to create a sustainable future for all. Last but not the least, I would also like to acknowledge the efforts of our organizing committee members and all the individuals who have worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make this event a great success. Without your dedication and hard work, this seminar would not have been possible. In the end, I thank you once again. Thank you to all.
Thank you so much, sir. And now I request you all to stand up for national anthem. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being part of International Seminar on Education for Sustainable Development. So the sumptuous food is waiting for you all on the first floor of this building. So kindly proceed and kindly collect your certificate of participation from the registration counter. And after the chief guest leaves the hall, I would request you all to proceed for the claim of your TA bills. At the registration counter only, our team is there only, and they will provide you the whole payment over there as well. So
I just want to thank once again Martin and Silla for being here. You'll miss the lunch and you'll miss the hospitality which we are offering. But I invite you to come to India sometime and avail that. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. And we'll
Thank
be
you so
in
much.
touch with you. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Martin.
me.
Thank you, Ms. Edmonds.
Go well.
All the best to you all. I'm leaving now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martin. Thank you, Ma'am Edmund. We'll see you later.
And thanks also for the technical support. It went very, very well with the presentation and with the video. Thank you so much.
Okay, sir. Welcome, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best.
All the.
माइक पे आप अगर चाहते हो कुछ तो देन है ना माइक है ऑन है
Confused हो गया ना
Just thanking both of you once again. Bye, Martin.
Bye-bye to you all.
Silla. Bye. Hope we'll meet sometime again in person.
I hope so. Thank you for today.